Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to Flora Podcast. Okay, right now we are at Kopi Flyover Ngulang. We are surrounded by fresh air, open skies, and also paddy fields. And that's something I find quite unique because sometimes even the environment is quite calm, but our mind is actually opposite. So, for today's episode, we are going to talk about some things that students experience, but not everyone talk about it openly, which is the topic is mental health matters, supporting student well-being. And just to share with our listeners, we are students from IPG Perlis. As a future educators, this topic is not just relevant us personally, but it is professionally because one day we will responsible not only for teaching knowledge but also understanding the emotional states of our students. So guys, today I'm here with Diana and Wara again.
Hi everyone. I feel like this topic hits very close to home because we as students, especially in
Mhm,
IPG, we carry not just academic pressure but
mhm.
also expectations about who we need to become in the future.
Yes. Yes, and what makes it more complex is that sometimes we just not realize that we are struggling. We just think it's normal to feel overwhelmed, tired, and constantly pressured. Mm, exactly. That's why our conversation for today is very important, right?
Yes.
This conversation not just to define what is mental health, but it's actually to understand it from our own experience.
Yeah.
Let me ask both of you some things and take your time to answer. When was the last time you genuinely feel at peace? Not just okay, but truly at peace.
Okay, honestly, I think it's been quite a while, so I can't really remember the last time I felt completely relaxed without thinking about something I need to do next. Even when I'm resting, I still thinking about um, assignments. So my mind is still running, thinking about deadlines and also responsibilities.
Same here. For me, it's like even when I'm physically resting, mentally I'm not. I feel like there's always something pending, and that feeling
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really go away. Even when I try to relax,
Mm-hmm.
there's still constant pressure, and it's pressure at the back of my mind, reminding me that I should be doing something more productive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the problem starts when rest start to feel like guide instead of recovery. That's interesting because it shows that rest is not just physically, it's mental as well.
Yes, and I think many students misunderstood that. We think resting means lying down or scrolling phone, scrolling TikTok, but actually, our mind is still active.
Exactly. And sometimes social media make it worse. Instead of resting, we end up comparing ourselves with others.
Mhm,
We see people being productive,
mhm.
achieving things, and suddenly we feel like we are falling behind. Even if we were just trying to take a break, so instead of helping relax, it adds more pressure. So instead of recharging, we drain ourselves even more, right?
Yes, and then we wonder why we still feel tired.
So let's go deeper into understanding what is mental health.
Okay, so mental health is often misunderstood as just not being depressed or not having problems. But actually, it's about how we manage our emotions and how we manage our thoughts and daily challenges.
Yes, and according to research, mental health is include emotional stability, the ability to cope with stress, and maintaining relationships.
Yes, I
I
agree.
also think mental health is about self-awareness, understanding what you feel and what you feel that way.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we are overwhelmed not because of the situation, but because we don't understand our own emotions. So, it's a continuous state, not something fixed.
Exactly. You can be okay today and struggle tomorrow.
And that's why mental health needs constant attention. It's not something we fix once and then it's done, but it's require continuous care, just like physical health. If we ignore it for too long, it slowly affects other part of our life without us realizing. I think one important point is mental health is invisible.
Yes, someone can look completely fine on the outside, but internally they might be struggling.
And that's why we shouldn't judge based on appearance. Some people are very good at hiding their struggles, especially students who feel like they need to appear strong. So instead of assuming, we should be more understanding and empathetic. So let's talk about the causes in detail. When we discuss stress among students, many people immediately think about assignment and examinations. While those are certainly important factors, the causes are often much deeper than that. Stress usually develops from a combination of academic responsibilities, personal expectations, social pressures, and even uncertainty about the future.
Okay, academic pressure is definitely the biggest one, especially when deadlines come together. It becomes so overwhelming.
And it's not just assignment, expectation too. We expect ourselves to perform well and sometimes that pressure becomes too much. I think internal expectations are actually more stressful than external ones because they come from our own standard. When we set a very high expectation for ourselves, even small mistake can feel like failure. That's very true. Sometimes the pressure doesn't come from lecturers or family members at all. It comes from ourselves. We constantly feel the need to achieve more, do more, and be better. Instead of appreciating our progress, we focus on what we have not achieved yet. Do you think expectation from others play a role?
Yes, definitely. Family expectations, lecture expectations, and sometimes we internalize them.
And when we don't meet those expectations, we start feeling like we are not good enough.
Mhm.
Over time, this can affect our self-esteem because we begin to measure our worth based on achievement instead of who are we as a person.
Yes.
That's a strong point. Self-worth becomes tied to performance. When our confidence depends entirely on grades, achievement, or recognition, every setback feels much better than it actually is. Instead of seeing mistakes as opportunities to learn, we start viewing them as proof that we are not capable.
Yes, and that is so, so, so dangerous.
Social media also contributes. We constantly see people achieving things and we compare. But what we don't realize is that We are comparing our real life to someone else's highlight. That creates unrealistic standards that are almost impossible to reach. That's something many students experience it today. Social media can be inspiring, but it can also make us feel pressure to keep up with everyone else. We see people posting their achievement, awards, travels, and success every day, but we only see the highlight, not the struggles. We rarely see the failures, the sacrifice of the difficult moments behind those achievements. As a result, we may we may feel like everyone is doing better than us, even when that may not be true at all. So, what happens when all of this builds up? When stress continues for a long period of time without proper support or management, it begins to affect different areas of our life. It doesn't just affect our academic performance, it can influence our emotions, relationships, motivations, and even our physical health.
We start losing motivation. Even simple tasks feel difficult.
Yes, and sometimes we feel emotionally numb. It's like you disconnect from your own feelings. You don't feel excited, but you're not exactly sad either. And that numbness can slowly affect your daily life because you start finding meaning in things you used to care about. Hmm, that's an important point. Many people think stress only means feeling worried or anxious, but sometimes it shows up in less obvious ways. We may become withdraw, lose interest in our hobbies, or struggle to concentrate even on simple activities. Numb? Yes, like you're not sad, but you're not happy either. Just empty. And I think that's one of the most dangerous state because people around you might think you're okay, but internally you are struggling.
I've felt that before, and it's confusing because you don't know. You don't know what's wrong, but you know something is not really right.
Thank you for sharing that. I think many listeners can relate to that feeling as well. Sometimes the hardest struggles are the ones that cannot be seen from the outside. And that's the dangerous part when you don't understand your own feelings. If we ignore those emotions for too long, they can become even more overwhelming. That is why emotional awareness and self-reflection are so important. So, let's shift to something important, that is solutions. Stress is normal part of life, but the way we respond to it can make a huge difference. There is no single solution that works for everyone, but there are many healthy strategies that can help us to cope more effectively. How do we actually deal with stress?
For me, the first step is awareness. We need to admit that we are stressed. Sometimes we deny it because we think we should be strong.
Yes, acknowledging your emotion is important. If you don't recognize it, you can't manage it.
Yeah.
But I think we also need to go one step further,
hmm
not just acknowledge, but understanding the root cause. When we know why we feel stressed, it becomes easier to handle it. That's true. Awareness gives us the opportunity to take action instead of simply reacting to stress. Once we understand what is affecting us, we can start making the change that support our well-being. What about practical strategies?
Breaking tasks into smaller steps really helps. Instead of looking at everything at once, we focus on one thing at a time.
Yes, and it reduces the feeling of being overwhelmed. I also think prioritizing tasks is important. Not everything needs to be done perfectly. Sometimes done is better than perfect. Oh, I completely agree. Perfectionism often creates unnecessary pressure. By focusing on progress rather than perfection, we can complete tasks more effectively while protecting our mental health. What about rest?
Rest is really crucial, but we need to rest properly. Not just scrolling, but actually disconnecting. Disconnecting from phones, social media, that is really what we call as rest.
I agree. Even spending time in a nature like here,
Yeah,
it can help calm the mind. Being in a different environment allow us to reset mentally.
yeah.
It reminds us that life is not just about deadline and responsibilities. That's interesting. Environment plays a role. Sometimes a short walk, fresh air, or a change of scenery can help us gain a new perspective. Taking breaks is not being lazy. It is a part of maintaining our productivity and well-being.
Also, talking to someone helps a lot. Keeping everything inside makes it worse. As example, me and Wara always sharing. Me and Wara keep sharing problems together and not keeping the problems inside.
Yes, even just sharing your feelings can reduce the burden. But for those who are not comfortable talking, journaling can also help. Writing your thoughts allow you to process emotion in a safe way. That's a great suggestion. When we express our thoughts, whether through conversation or writing, we often understand ourselves better. It helps organize our emotion and reduce the feeling of carrying everything alone. And I think one important thing is self-compassion.
Yes, we are often too hard on ourselves.
We forgive others easily, but not ourselves. We need to learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness we give to others. Exactly. Self-compassion does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means recognizing that we are human, that mistakes are part of learning, and that our value is not determined by a single bad day or failure. Being kinder to ourselves can make a significant difference in how we manage stress. As a future educators, this becomes even more important. The experience we have today can shape the kind of teachers we become tomorrow. If we understand the realities of stress and mental health, we will be better prepared to support our future students.
Yes, because our students might go through the same thing, right?
Yes, and if we don't understand mental health, we might ignore their struggles or misinterpret their behavior, like thinking they are lazy or not trying, when actually they are overwhelmed internally. So, as future teachers, we need to be more observant and empathetic. That's a very valuable reminder. Students often communicate their struggles through their behavior rather than words. If we only focus on academic performance, we may miss signs that they need support or misinterpret them as laziness.
Exactly, when actually they might be overwhelmed.
So, understanding mental health is part of being a good teacher. It's not just about teaching subjects, but understanding students in individual.
I completely agree. Education is not only about delivering knowledge, it is also about creating a safe and supportive environment where students feel seen, heard, and respected. When students feel supported, they are more likely to learn and grow confidently. Let me ask something deeper. Are we actually stressed because of our workload or because we feel like we are never enough? Sometimes it feels as true no matter how much we accomplish. There is always another expectation waiting for us, another task, another goal, another comparison. Perhaps the biggest challenge is not the word cloud itself, but the belief that we must constantly prove our worth.
I think it's both, but the feeling of not being enough makes everything heavier.
Yes, because even when we try our best, it still feels like it's not enough. And that mindset can be very exhausting because it makes us constantly chase something we can't clearly define. I think learning to accept enough is something students need to practice.
That's powerful insight. Learning to accept enough does not mean giving up on our goals. It means recognizing our effort and acknowledging that our value goes beyond achievement. And that mindset needs to change because when we stop defining ourselves or failure, we create space for healthy growth, resilience, and self acceptance. Before we end, we want to remind you you are not behind, you are not weak, you are a human. You are allowed to have days where everything feels heavy, where you don't have the answer, and where you are simply trying to get through the day. Life is not a race, and growth does not happen at the same pace for everyone. Every person has their own journey, their own challenge, and their own timeline. The fact that you are still trying, still moving forward, even slowly, is something worth acknowledging.
And being human means you are allowed to feel tired without having to justify it. You are allowed to have days where everything feels heavy, where you don't have the answers, and where you feel like you are just trying to survive the day. But even in those moments, it doesn't mean you are falling. It simply means you are going through something that requires time, requires patience, and kindness towards yourself. Because growth is not always visible, sometimes growth looks like resting, sometimes it looks like crying, sometimes it looks like doing less, but still choosing to continue tomorrow. And that is still progress. So, if today feels hard, remind yourself that you don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to take one small step at a time, even if that step is just choosing to stay and try again later.
It's okay to ask for help, and it's also okay to take things slowly sometimes. Healings and growth don't happen overnight. There is strength in reaching out to someone you trust, whether it's a friend, a family member, a teacher, or a professional. You do not have to carry every burden on your own. Asking for support is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of courage. Remember that healing is not a straight path. Some days will feel easier, while others may feel challenging again. That does not mean you are moving backwards. It simply means you are human, learning and growing through every experience. Be gentle with yourself. Celebrate the small victories, no matter how small they seem. Every step forward matters, and every effort you make it worth acknowledging.
And it's okay to not be okay. Remember, asking for support is not a sign of weakness. Taking care of your mental health is not selfish. And giving yourself time to heal is not something you need to feel guilty about. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We hope this conversation reminds you to be a little kinder to yourself and to people around you. Thank you for listening to Flora Podcast, where we don't just talk, but we reflect.
Thank you for having me, P. Flora.
Thank you so much,
Welcome,
everyone.
welcome, and bye.